Welcome back to the channel, if you have the stomach for it. Today we have 3 spine-chilling true horror stories that happened during the summertime. These stories will send chills down your spine. Make sure to turn off the lights and get ready to be scared. You are in for a wild ride, so sit back, relax, and prepare to be terrified. Let the horror begin. Our first story takes us deep into the isolated wilderness, where a group of friends decided to spend their summer vacation in a remote cabin in the woods. Seeking a break from the city, they were eager to embrace the tranquility of nature. Little did they know that their idyllic getaway would soon transform into a terrifying fight for survival. The cabin, nestled amidst towering trees and shrouded in an eerie silence, seemed harmless at first. As the sun began to set, casting long, ominous shadows across the clearing, an unsettling feeling crept into the air. The friends, initially dismissive of their unease, continued to unpack and settle into their home for the next week. Nightfall arrived, enveloping the cabin in an impenetrable darkness. The friends gathered around a crackling fire, sharing stories and laughter, trying to ignore the growing sense of dread that permeated the atmosphere. It was during these seemingly innocent moments of camaraderie that the first sign of something sinister revealed itself. A faint scratching sound, barely audible above the crackling fire, seemed to emanate from just beyond the cabin walls. One of the friends, a young woman named Emily, paused, her laughter dying in her throat. "Did you guys hear that?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Her friends, lost in their conversation, dismissed her concern. "It's probably just an animal, Em," one of them replied, waving his hand dismissively. Emily, unconvinced, couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The scratching sound persisted, growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. It seemed to be coming from the walls, as if something was trying to claw its way in. As the night wore on, the strange occurrences continued. Footsteps echoed through the empty rooms upstairs, despite the fact that all of the friends were gathered in the living room. Doors creaked open and slammed shut on their own, as if moved by an unseen hand. The friends, their initial amusement replaced with growing terror, huddled closer together, their eyes darting nervously around the darkened cabin. They tried to rationalize the strange events, attributing them to the age of the cabin or the wind whistling through the trees outside. But deep down, they knew that something was terribly wrong. One evening, as the friends gathered for dinner, the haunting reached a fever pitch. A heavy antique mirror that hung on the wall suddenly shattered into 1,000 pieces, sending shards of glass flying across the room. The friends screamed, diving for cover as the air filled with the sound of breaking glass and their own terrified cries. When the dust settled, they stared at the shattered mirror in disbelief. It was then that they noticed something truly unsettling. Etched into the wooden frame of the mirror, barely visible in the dim light, were a series of strange symbols. They were unlike anything the friends had ever seen before, a series of arcane markings that seemed to pulsate with an evil energy. Our next tale of summer horror takes us to the sunny shores of a popular beach destination where a family vacation takes a sinister turn. The Thompson family, excited to escape the hustle and bustle of city life, arrived at their beachfront rental eager to soak up the sun and enjoy some quality time together. The first few days of their vacation were idyllic. The children, 10-year-old Sarah and 8-year-old Michael, splashed in the waves, built sandcastles and collected seashells, their laughter echoing across the beach. Their parents, John and Mary, relaxed on beach chairs, enjoying the warmth of the sun on their skin and the sound of the waves crashing against the shore. However, their peaceful vacation took a sinister turn on the third day. While Mary was reading a book on the balcony of their rental, she noticed a strange man standing at the edge of the property, his gaze fixed intently on their children playing in the sand. He was tall and lanky, with unkempt hair and a scraggly beard, his clothes wrinkled and dirty. But it was his eyes that sent a chill down Mary's spine. They were cold and calculating, devoid of any warmth or emotion. Mary tried to dismiss her unease, telling herself that he was probably just another tourist admiring the children playing, but something about the way he stared at them, his gaze unwavering, made her skin crawl. She quickly called Sarah and Michael back to the rental, her heart pounding in her chest. The man, startled by her sudden movement, turned and disappeared into the crowd of beachgoers. Mary told John about the strange man, and although he tried to reassure her that it was probably nothing, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. They agreed to be more cautious, keeping a close eye on the children at all times. Later that day, as the family was walking along the beach after dinner, they noticed the same man again. He was sitting on a bench, his back to them, but Mary could feel his eyes on their backs, watching their every move. She gripped John's hand tightly, her knuckles turning white. "It's him again," she whispered, her voice trembling. John turned to look, but the man was gone. He had vanished into thin air. As the days turned into nights, the strange occurrences continued. The family would find their beach toys rearranged in strange patterns, or their beach towels would be missing. One morning they woke up to find a pile of dead seaweed arranged in the shape of a cross on their doorstep. Fear and paranoia gripped the Thompson family. They began to suspect that they were being stalked, but they couldn't understand why. They were just an ordinary family on vacation. What could anyone possibly want with them? Chapter 3. The Summer Camp Ghost. Our final story takes us to Camp Aokigahara, a summer camp nestled beside the infamous Aokigahara forest at the base of Mount Fuji. This camp, known for its beautiful scenery and exciting activities, was a popular destination for teenagers looking for a summer of fun and adventure. But for one young camp counselor named Jessica, Camp Aokigahara would become a place of terror and despair. Jessica, a college student eager to earn some extra money during the summer break, had accepted a job as a counselor at Camp Aokigahara. She had always loved working with children, and she was excited to spend her summer surrounded by nature. The camp was located on the edge of a dense, sprawling forest, its towering trees casting long, ominous shadows across the campgrounds. The air was thick with the smell of pine needles and damp earth, and the only sounds that broke the eerie silence were the chirping of crickets and the rustling of leaves. Jessica, initially captivated by the camp's rustic beauty, couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. There was an unsettling stillness to the forest, as if it held its breath, watching, waiting. As the days turned into nights, Jessica began to experience strange and unsettling occurrences. She would hear whispers and giggles in the empty bunks long after the children were asleep. She would see fleeting shadows moving in the periphery of her vision, disappearing as quickly as they appeared. One night, as Jessica was making her rounds checking on the sleeping campers, she noticed that the door to one of the empty cabins was slightly ajar. A cold breeze emanated from within, sending a shiver down her spine. Thinking that one of the campers might have forgotten to close the door properly, Jessica pushed it open and stepped inside. The air inside the cabin was heavy and oppressive, thick with the smell of mildew and decay. Dust motes danced in the faint moonlight that filtered through the grimy windows. As Jessica's eyes adjusted to the darkness, she noticed that there was a single wooden chair placed in the center of the room. It was turned away from her, as if someone had just been sitting there. But the cabin was empty. Jessica's heart pounded in her chest as she slowly approached the chair. She could feel the temperature drop several degrees, and the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. She reached out a trembling hand to touch the back of the chair, and as her fingers made contact with the cold, rough wood, she heard a voice whisper her name. The voice was soft and raspy, as if it were coming from the very walls themselves. It seemed to slither around the room, echoing in the darkness. Jessica spun around, searching for the source of the voice, but the cabin was empty. Terrified, Jessica stumbled back towards the door, her heart racing in her chest. As she reached the doorway, she felt a cold, clammy hand grip her arm. She screamed, yanking her arm free and stumbling back into the cabin. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed these stories and found them to be truly terrifying. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below, letting me know which story scared you the most. If you're new to the channel and you love scary content like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Stay safe and have a spooky summer.